Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This beautiful gentleman right over here, his name is Tim, and you have found the Second Legacy, and thank you so much for stopping by. Today, this is a Friday episode that you guys are going to watch. It's probably going to cook some of your eggs a little too far, if you know what I'm saying, because Hunter Biden is back in the news, but you'll never guess why, and I cannot wait to show this. Everything is linked because we cannot make this up. But Hunter, I'm not Hunter. You're not Hunter. You're Tim. Before we get into Hunter, Tim, I need to know you're in a good place because this is going to be fun. How are you doing?
Apparently, you thought I had a crack pipe in my hand or something. I'm not Hunter.
And edit. Oh, no, anyway. We're good. We are totally fine. So you're doing good other than the paraphernalia?
Yeah. You know,
that's
butt crack, by the way. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, butt crack. The butt crack.
Anatomy. It's anatomy.
Yeah, it's science. It's science, YouTube. We're good. All right. Well, you know what? There's been some breaking news. And as you guys know, the Bruen decision came out, and that was a landmark decision. In fact, I think I recall, Tim, and you can obviously, add some context here. I'm pretty sure that the Biden administration, Biden himself, and every Democrat under the sun told us it was an affront to the Constitution. A terrible decision. The Supreme Court has lost credibility because they've a complete lack of common sense. Is that about right? High level?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Biden, he doesn't want to take your guns away, but he wants to take your guns away.
Exactly.
And, the Supreme Court made a horrible decision with Bruen. We just can't let this stand. We have to pack the courts. We have to undo this. But in the meantime, protect my son.
Well, speaking about said butt crack, Mr. Producer, could you throw up number 1 for me? Because this is about to get juicy. This is from the New York Times, beautiful viewers of the Second Legacy. Hunter Biden's lawyers cite landmark gun ruling in bid to stave off charges. Hunter Biden's legal team is invoking a Supreme Court decision his father has denounced as an affront to, quote, common sense and the Constitution. Now, he's talking about the Bruen decision. But before we go into the details too deep, let's just sit here and just enjoy, Tim, the sweet, sweet irony that Hunter Biden, son of President Biden, is going to now use the Bruen decision, which furthered our gun rights, of which President Biden attacked, to get himself off the hook. I mean, it's delicious.
In a normal world that wasn't the clown world we currently find ourselves in, his supporters would be outraged that this was happening.
Yeah.
But as is so typical with the anti-gunners, hypocrisy rules the day. So he'll get away with this, and he won't be called out for it on social media.
Absolutely.
You won't see the typical, defenders of him and his regime out there on Twitter and other social media sites defending him on this. They won't even bring it up. And it's just so typical. It's nauseating.
Oh, yeah.
But this is where we're at, right? Mm-hmm. It kind of reminds me of something that's unrelated, but still an example of governments doing things like this when they forced Obamacare on the people, but then the same people that voted for it decided to exempt themselves from it.
Yep, not me.
And then they went even further. The same people that voted for it that supposedly hate corporations and think they're evil, also their biggest money donors, corporations, they also found themselves with exemptions. Mm-hmm. And so this is typical government misbehavior. Oh, yeah. And again, it's just stunning to me that their supporters, he would think, are just so on board the anti-gun train that they would just be livid he would use this defense. They're not going to mention it.
Nope. In fact, again, beautiful said people of the Second Legacy audience, we're going to read you a few things. This is from the New York Times. This is not an opinion piece. This is the New York Times. It's linked right down there. So, Mr. Producer, could you throw up number 2, then number 3, then number 4 after I get to them so we can do this sequentially? To Hunter Biden's father, the Supreme Court decision last June that expanded Second Amendment rights is a travesty for gun control. But to Hunter Biden's lawyers, it's been an opening. It's so gross. And number 3, in the months after the court's landmark ruling that gave people a broad right to carry guns outside the home, Mr. Biden's lawyers told Justice Department prosecutors who were investigating whether to charge him in connection with a gun purchase that a prosecution of him would likely be ruled moot, according to 2 people briefed on the matter. Oh, we're going to come back to that in 1 second. And finally, Mr. Producer number 4, Mr. Biden is under investigation for several potential offenses, including whether he had lied on a federal firearms application in 2018 when he asked if he was addicted to drugs. His lawyers, included the white-collar defense lawyer Christopher Clark, have argued that any charge against him would likely be thrown out after federal appeals court rule on 2 major challenges that cite the Supreme Court decision as precedent. It's going to be rendered moot because the Bruen decision is crystal clear, Tim. It's so obvious that there's no reason we even go down this road because it obviously renders it moot. However, not for everyone else. What?
I know. Yeah, rules for thee, not for me.
Oh my God, it hurts so bad. The thing that kills me about it, Tim, is the way in which the overconfident affirmative conversation and language that they use, where they go, well, it's obviously going to be rendered moot, so you might as well not do it. Because Bruen decision is so solid and so strong, my client's in the clear. Then you turn around and you watch all of these politicians, including this guy's father. I'm sorry, that means father, like one up. He's like, nah, this is the terrible decision and kid shouldn't apply. It's not common sense. You can't. It's too bad.
Well, I mean, the good news is Biden probably won't do anything to try to undo the Bruen decision until his son gets off, and then he might go after it again. Who knows?
Ooh, hold on. I like that angle, Tim. No, hold on. We're onto something here. I like this. So you're saying there's no reason to pack the courts, and there's no reason to reverse the Bruen decision because Hunter was benefiting from the Bruen decision. But, however, when he's out of office, maybe the next president can pack the courts to get rid of the Bruen decision because it makes no sense against all common sense and terrible for gun control and safety because Hunter Biden at that point will be off the hook. Is that what you're implying, sir?
Oh, could be. You never know. Stranger things have happened. We are living in idiocracy times, unfortunately.
Man, we should have thought this through better. But guys, obviously, we're playing this tongue in cheek. But this is flat offensive. Like, this is just disgusting.
It's the typical hypocrisy. I mean, this as disgusting as it is, this is like a daily occurrence with the anti-gunners. But they just
hurts.
Can't help themselves.
No, they can't. And I've got even more to read here, which will only make me more upset, Tim. Oh.
Might as well get it out of the way.
Oh, might as well do it. Okay. Mr. Producer, could you throw number 5 and then number 6? And I'm not sure my blood pressure is going to take this, but let's get it. One case that Hunter Biden team has cited is a challenge to the criteria used in the federal firearms background check system, which relies on a ubiquitous application known as a 4473 form. Pending before the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit, which includes Delaware. In that case, Bryant David Range, a Pennsylvania man who was denied a gun permit over a decades-old misdemeanor, is asking to be granted gun ownership based, in part, on Justice Thomas's opinion. That ubiquitous application known as a 4473. We're going to get to that. And number 6, but such federal prosecutions are relatively rare and seldom pursued as standalone charges. And officials at the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosive responsible for reviewing Mr. Biden's file were skeptical of bringing charges against him, especially considered that he had sought treatment and had no prior criminal history, according to another person with knowledge of the situation. What do you want to hit first there, Tim? The fact that he's trying to do good, he's seeking treatment, or the ubiquitous application known as a 4473?
I mean, it's all good stuff. I mean, this is just unbelievable. He has no prior history of crimes. He has a laptop full of a history of crimes.
He has a laptop.
The guy has been a hardcore drug user and thief and everything else for years. And it's just so funny that they just want to dismiss everything. And I'm not saying whether or not he should be charged, right? I mean,
that's not our place.
We talked about, right, the ATF issuing a statement on Twitter saying, if you're a user of marijuana, you got to remember you can't own a gun legally, in defiance of a federal court case that said actually that's unconstitutional. So, I mean, I just think it's funny. The hypocrisy of these people knows no bounds. The same people writing this article rip the Second Amendment apart, rip the Bruen decision apart, rip everything apart. But the minute it benefits one of their royalty, all of a sudden their opinions shift for the moment, because I guarantee you, once he's off the hook, they'll be right back to doing everything they can to strip us of our rights.
You know what? I'm so proud. You ate your Wheaties this morning. It must be that shirt. So that's exactly where I was going next. That's like the New York Times, this soft, gentle, coddling language they're using in representing this is the exact same firm that uses extremely aggressive language, anything to do with gun rights or proponents of gun rights, anything. the hypocrisy doesn't just stop at the politicians. It stops at the media too. But you know what, Tim? I think a great way to wrap this up would be to address, quote, a ubiquitous application known as a 4473. It's so uncommon, and it's so random, and it happens occasionally.
Nobody pays any attention to them. It's not like people have gotten arrested for lying on them, or gun dealers have lost their license for not completing them correctly. That's never happened.
Come on, it's ubiquitous. It's a big word.
It's this tiny little minuscule thing that you might have to interact with if you ever decide to buy a gun. It's totally unimportant. It goes along with that NICS. Is that what they call it?
Yes.
This ubiquitous background thing they do?
I think they spell it NIX. NIX, actually.
NICS. I'm going to nix your right to own a gun. I mean, it's just, these people blow my mind. And the fact that nobody calls them on, I mean, we're calling them on it, but their own supporters don't acknowledge the hypocrisy. No. It's so mind-numbing to me.
And hold on, I think we need to do a proper disclaimer for everyone who did not catch how thick that sarcasm was we just were doing. On everything from the ubiquitous 4473 forward till this point. Obviously, every single person that buys a gun through an FFL has to fill out a 4473. That whole thing where they're like, there's no background check system, we just need common sense. Every single purchase is a 4473.
Or that FFL will lose their license.
Every single one. And it's federal. And then some states put it on their own state level on top of that. So just to throw that out there, not to throw a wet blanket on the great fun sarcasm we were throwing, but someone out there was like, it does sound kind of ubiquitous.
Anyway, well, it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out. So we'll look forward to the news that comes out. If Hunter Biden walks on this one, which he probably will, and watching the news media rally around him should make for another interesting video down the road. If you'd like to take part in our call-in show, there's a link in the video description below. Follow that link, fill out the document. We'll contact you. We'll ask you what your question is or what statement you would like to make. We have a great conversation around whatever two-way issue is of interest to you at that time. We look forward to those phone calls and those conversations. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you guys soon.